Ronco's amazing new kitchen tool, the Super Buttoneer 76. Yes, fish eaters, the days of troublesome scaling, cutting, and gutting are over.
Ronco, K-tel, and a handful of equally fearless pitchmen could take an ordinary household object, give it a name that sounded vaguely scientific, and convince America that life without it was unnecessarily difficult. Here are 20 of the strangest, smartest, and most unforgettable gadgets they put on television. Number 1. Ginsu Knives.
In Japan, the hand can be used like a knife. But this method doesn't work with a tomato. That's why we use the Ginsu.
Before Ginsu, this was an ordinary kitchen knife called the Quikut. That name sounded less like a samurai weapon and more like something your uncle bought at the hardware store. So marketers Ed Valenti and Barry Becker gave it a mysterious new identity. Advertisers have been sawing through innocent tin cans ever since. Number 2. The Miracle Painter. The Miracle Painter promised that anyone could paint an entire room without spilling a drop. To prove it, the commercial showed a man painting a ceiling while wearing a tuxedo. Apparently, he had a ballroom engagement at 7, but wanted to freshen up the dining room at 6:30. Number 3. Pocket Fisherman.
It's the fishing invention of the century. There's never been anything like it. Popeil's Pocket Fisherman. Men, women, youngsters can cast almost like experts the very first time.
Ron Popeil's father, Samuel, developed the original product, and Ron turned it into one of the most recognizable gadgets on television. Strange enough to be memorable, practical enough to defend, and compact enough to disappear into a garage drawer for the next 40 years. Number 4. K-Tel Record Selector.
Introducing the K-Tel Record Selector and K-Tel Cassette Selector. End awkward storage and selection of your valuable records and cassettes with K-Tel's Record or Cassette Selector.
The K-Tel Record Selector claimed to organize your albums like a computer. This was technically true, provided your idea of a computer was 24 pieces of plastic leaning against one another. No electricity, no buttons, no memory. Just gravity performing light clerical work. It was the kind of gadget you bought for organization and then spent the first week repeatedly demonstrating to visitors. Number 5. The Buttoneer.
This Christmas, get them the new automatic Buttoneer 2. It attaches any kind of button instantly.
A missing button was once a minor sewing repair. Ronco looked at that 2-minute inconvenience and saw an entire television commercial. That was Popeil's real talent. He did not necessarily invent every product. He invented the emergency surrounding it. Suddenly, sewing on a button looked painfully slow and old-fashioned. Why struggle with thread when you could fire a plastic fastener through your shirt with the authority of a department store employee? Number 6. The Feather Touch Knife. Long before Ginsu attacked its first tomato, K-Tel founder Philip Kives was already proving that knives made excellent television. Kives learned showmanship on the Atlantic City boardwalk, then took the delicately named Feather Touch Knife to Australia in 1965 and treated every loaf of bread like a mortal enemy. By Christmas, Kives had reportedly sold around 1 million of them. The Feather Touch helped establish the formula K-Tel would use for decades: demonstrate quickly, talk even faster, and never allow viewers enough silence to question whether they actually needed the product. Number 7. Fishing Magician.
This is the original Fishing Magician from K-Tel. 11 fishing aids. A handy pull-out measuring tape gives you immediate legal size checking. Record the weight of your prize catch with Fishing Magician's exclusive weigh scale.
Despite the name, the Fishing Magician was not K-Tel's version of the Pocket Fisherman. It was more like a Swiss Army knife designed specifically for people who smelled faintly of lake water. The device combined several fishing tools, including a fillet knife, fish scaler, gripper, measuring tape, weighing scale, and bottle opener. Because after catching and measuring a fish, apparently the next priority was opening a cold soda. Compared with many products on this list, this one had a reasonable argument for existing. Any gadget capable of cleaning a fish and opening a bottle had clearly understood its audience. Number 8. The Ronco Spray Gun. This unglamorous garden attachment helped build the entire Ronco company. The spray gun connected to an ordinary garden hose and distributed fertilizer, weed killer, or insecticide while you watered. That description does not exactly scream primetime television, but Popeil understood that spraying liquid across a lawn produced excellent demonstrations. Number 9. The Cap Snafler. Most people opened a bottle using a regular bottle opener. Ronco gave the process a new name. The cap snafler promised to snaffle caps from bottles, jars, and jugs of different sizes. And because it appeared on television, the cap snaffler was never demonstrated on one normal bottle. There had to be a parade of containers, each apparently sealed by industrial machinery, until the snaffler conquered them all. Number 10. The Kitchen Magician.
This is Kitchen Magician. Drop whole potatoes into this automatic conveyor and make hundreds of julienne fries in seconds. Change cutters to chop onions, slice bulk cheese.
Slicing quietly with a knife was boring. Potatoes needed motion, carrots needed velocity, cucumbers needed to look slightly frightened. This style of advertising became so recognizable that Saturday Night Live parodied it in 1976 with Dan Aykroyd's Buttoneer, a blender demonstration involving a whole fish. Once your vegetable slicer inspires someone to liquefy a base on national television, it has officially entered American culture. If one of these gadgets lived in your kitchen, garage, or the mysterious drawer where nobody was allowed to throw anything away, take a moment to subscribe. I share new stories from the 1970s every week. And unlike K-Tel, I am not adding 6 free steak knives to the offer. Number 11. The Miracle Brush.
When you have a problem with hairs and fluff that stick to you, try Miracle Brush. It'll brush away hairs, fluff, lint, and dandruff, and all that stuff. Miracle Brush cleans everything.
K-Tel reportedly sold somewhere between 28 and 30 million of them, making it one of the company's biggest products. 30 million lint brushes. That is enough to suggest the entire Western world was being slowly buried beneath sweater fuzz. The appeal was immediate because the demonstration was perfect for television. A black jacket covered in white lint went into frame. A few quick strokes later, it emerged looking respectable again. Unlike many miracle products, the brush performed a real task. It may not have been miraculous, but the moderately effective brush probably would not have sold 30 million units. Number 12. The Blitz Hacker. The Blitz Hacker was a manual food chopper with a name that sounded like either a kitchen appliance or a rejected German superhero.
Introducing the original Blitz Hacker from K-Tel. 3 parts lock securely in place when in use and are easy to clean. 6 stainless steel blades rotate automatically. Does 4 jobs: chops, dices, minces, crushes ice.
The Blitz Hacker was particularly suited to K-Tel's rapid-fire style. The announcer could name 15 foods before the viewer had processed the first 3. That advertising became so relentless that to K-Tel reportedly entered slang as a way of describing something promoted over and over again. K-Tel did not merely buy commercial time. For several minutes it occupied the television completely, blocked the exits, and refused to leave until somebody ordered a food chopper. Number 13. London Aire hosiery. London Aire hosiery was not technically a gadget.
Has this ever happened to you? Of course it has. Now it need never happen again. Introducing for the first time in North America a sensational new stocking from London Aire. They're guaranteed in writing not to run.
But Ron Popeil advertised pantyhose as though they were advanced military equipment. On camera, he attacked them with scissors, a nail file, a scouring pad, and even a lit cigarette to demonstrate that they would not run. This product became enormously important to Ronco. During the late 1960s, London Aire reportedly generated more than half of the company's annual sales. That meant the economic engine behind many of Ronco's famous gadgets was not a slicer, fisherman, or spray attachment. It was a pair of remarkably stubborn pantyhose. Number 14. The roller measure. The commercial claimed it could measure distances of up to 1,000 feet. And honestly, this one was fairly clever. It was essentially a fitness tracker for walls. The only danger was discovering it and suddenly deciding the entire house required measurement. The sofa was 7 feet long. The hallway was 19 feet, 4 inches. Ronco often exaggerated the urgency of ordinary household problems, but the roller measure addressed a genuine frustration. Traditional measuring tapes have always behaved as though they personally resent being used. Number 15. The Buttonmatic. The Buttonmatic has become so obscure that even surviving descriptions are surprisingly thin. K-tel histories listed among the company's products, while surviving examples describe it as a device for making buttonholes. That would make it the natural partner to the Buttoneer. The buttonmatic prepared the hole. The Buttoneer attached the button. Somewhere in America, there is probably an unopened one sitting beside a sewing machine, waiting for the family member who ordered it to finally read the manual. Number 16. The Ronco Cookie Machine. The Ronco Cookie Machine was a battery-powered dough extruder. The product dated to the mid-1970s and was essentially an electric version of a traditional cookie press. But electric dough extruder sounded too industrial. Cookie Machine promised an entire factory. The machine automated approximately 7 seconds of the process, but those 7 seconds looked excellent on television. Number 17. The Patty Stacker.
The amazing new K-Tel Patty Stacker. It's simple to use. Watch this. Put one of the reusable plastic discs in the tube. Add the desired amount of fresh ground meat on the disc.
The Patty Stacker promised perfectly shaped hamburger patties without requiring your hands to touch the meat. That was the official selling point. Your hands need never touch the meat. The Patty Stacker also occupies that perfect category of forgotten gadget, recognizable enough to look familiar, but obscure enough to make everyone question whether they actually owned one. Number 18. The K-Tel Cassette Selector. Once the record selector had computerized the nation's albums, K-Tel repeated the idea for cassette tapes. The cassette selector held 20 tapes and used the same basic flip-forward system. Push the row, choose the cassette, remove it, return it to the empty space. It was the sequel nobody requested, but cassette collections did present a genuine problem. Every tape looked nearly identical from a distance, and the handwritten labels inevitably faded until half the collection appeared to be named Summer Mix. The cassette selector brought order to the chaos, or at least it kept the tapes upright. Number 19. The Ronco Salad Spinner.
You can toss it, but you'll never make a great salad because salad dressing and water just don't mix. For a great salad, the greens have to be washed and dried thoroughly so that the dressing can cling to each leaf. Introducing the Ronco Salad Spinner.
The Ronco Salad Spinner began with one sensible purpose: removing water from freshly washed lettuce using centrifugal force. That part worked. Then the commercial became ambitious. It could wash and dry berries, dry potatoes before frying, mix dressing into salad, whip egg whites, prepare batter. Ronco did not invent the laws of centrifugal force, but it demonstrated them enthusiastically enough to make Americans spin their vegetables for entertainment. It was unnecessary theater built around a useful idea, which may be the perfect definition of a successful television gadget. Number 20. Chia Pet. The original Chia figure was called Chia Guy and dates to 1977. But the version that turned Chia into a national obsession came later. In 1982, the Chia Ram arrived alongside the endlessly repeatable jingle, Ch-ch-ch-chia. It was part planter, part pet, and part biological experiment conducted on a kitchen windowsill. Unlike most gadgets on this list, the Chia Pet never completely disappeared. New versions are still sold today, including animals, celebrities, movie characters, and public figures. That makes it older than many people realize, and one of the few television products to survive long enough to become nostalgic, ironic, and genuinely popular all over again. The advertisements promised a plant that looked like an animal. What they created was an American Christmas tradition nobody has successfully explained. Some of these products were genuinely useful. Others were plastic answers to questions nobody had asked. But Ronco, K-tel, and the great television pitchmen of the 1970s understood something modern advertising often forgets. The commercial itself had to be entertaining. And we may not have bought the product at all, but 50 years later, we can still hear the announcer telling us that operators are standing by. These companies did not just sell household gadgets. They sold the thrilling possibility that your entire life might become easier for only $9.95 plus shipping and handling. And just when you thought the offer was over, there was always more. Click the video on your screen for 10 more Ronco gadgets from the 1970s that people still defend today.